17-year-old kid was fired from his Walmart job for stealing. But get this, instead of wiping the sweat from his forehead and realizing that he's lucky that he wasn't charged, the next day he wakes up and he puts on his Walmart uniform. He grabs his Walmart badge and he heads to another Walmart location. When he's there, he tells them that he's a manager from another store and that he's there to do some sort of routine inventory check. He gains access to the back, and when he's back there, he proceeds to stuff several bundles of banknotes into his pockets. Then he goes to another store and does the same thing, and then another store and does the same thing. By the end of the day, this kid had stolen $30,000 from 3 different Walmart stores. How did he do it? With social engineering. Social engineering is the act of exploiting human weaknesses to gain access to personal information or protected systems. Social engineering relies on manipulating individuals rather than computer systems. But social engineers are hackers. They just hack social norms. With the 17-year-old, he walks into the Walmart store with his uniform and his badge. Seems totally normal. And he hacked that social norm to get what he really wanted. $30,000, all from a uniform and the assumed associations that come with it. Someone wearing a Starbucks hat and a Starbucks apron must work at Starbucks, right? A man wearing a construction vest carrying a ladder must be the hired maintenance man, right? And since maintenance men are trustworthy, you can trust this maintenance man. You can let this maintenance man into your home. Maintenance men enter people's homes all the time. It is a social norm. And a social engineer can hack that social norm in order to get into your home if you're not thinking critically. A construction vest costs $10. A ladder, $40. So $50 is all it takes to get someone to kindly allow a complete stranger into their home. This is the thought process behind social engineering, hacking social norms to get what they want. Now, not all social hackers want money. Sometimes they just want access to something that they don't have. Take me, for example. I live in an apartment complex where elevators and doors only work for residents with a key fob. Multiple times, people have tried to casually follow me into the building. As I get on the elevator, they just happen to be close enough behind to casually get on the elevator with me. They expect me to be a courteous citizen, to hold the elevator door open for them, to use my key fob and to push the button for the floor that I'm going to, and then to politely ask them, "What floor are you going to, sir? Which button should I press for you, ma'am?" That's the social norm that they are expecting. But is that what I do? No. I get on the elevator and I ask them for their key fob. When they say that they don't have it, I just tell them, "Hey, you got to check in at the front desk." Simple, easy. But think about how many people don't do that and instead just end up becoming victims to the social engineering tactic known as tailgating. Tailgating is the act of following someone into a restricted space. Tailgating functions around the assumptions of familiarity and trust and aims to passively gain access to an area that would otherwise be restricted to them. In order to get what they want, social engineers will try to hack the social norm that is politely holding the door open for a fellow citizen. My neighbor was just telling me that there was a homeless man that was caught sleeping in one of the common areas. Now, how would that have happened if all of the elevators and all of the doors are key fob restricted? They actually conducted a super interesting study back in 2016 called Trick with Treat. Dr. Andre Melzler, an assistant psychology professor at the University of Luxembourg, conducted the study. He wanted to see how many students would be willing to tell an interviewer their password in exchange for chocolate. This is an example of the social engineering tactic known as quid pro quo, meaning a favor for a favor. Research subjects were random pedestrians, and they were chosen at random, over 1,200 people. The interviewer asked to interview them about their attitudes towards computer security. A few questions in, and the interviewer gives them some chocolate and then proceeds to ask them for their password. Would you believe me if I told you that 47% of people actually told the interviewer their password? It's actually not that surprising once you understand that there is a social norm around reciprocating favors. If someone gives you something, you feel inclined, you feel obligated to give them something back. And a social engineer will hack that social norm in order to get what they want. In this case, your password. Social engineering is just another reason why it's so important for us to understand that social norms do not equate to reality. Social engineers are expecting us to be in the social norm trance, just doing whatever society has programmed us to do without critically thinking at all. Think about it. In order for a social engineer to succeed, they would have to be the only one critically thinking. And you would have to be so unwilling to be impolite that you actually allow yourself and others to be screwed over by them. If you want to continue down the social engineering rabbit hole, I highly recommend you check out this movie called Catch Me If You Can. It's kind of based on a true story. Back in the 80s, there was this guy named Frank Abagnale who wrote a book saying how he socially engineered his way into millions of dollars by posing as a pilot, then a doctor, and then a prosecutor. He ended up making a whole movie about it starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. One of his first cons in the movie is actually the perfect example of the social engineering tactic called role playing. So back when Frank was still a teenager, his dad got into some trouble with the IRS. Anyway, his family had to move to a new city, they had to downsize, and Frank had to start going to a public school as opposed to the private school that he was going to before. On his first day at this new school, Frank decides to pose as the substitute teacher. All it took was a blazer, a briefcase, and audacity. That's all it took to get it done. He wasn't caught for like a week. It's hilarious. The movie is really good. Highly recommend if you want to check that out. But you know what's interesting? Frank Abagnale is still alive, actually. He's about 74, and he works as a security consultant, and he's worth about $10 million, despite being charged with fraud, larceny, theft, and forgery. So I don't know. I guess if you're looking for a lucrative career path, maybe consider social engineering. I don't know. But, it leads me to my question, the question that I have for you today. I want to know what you think about this. Are social engineers villains or are they heroes? Isn't there something in you that likes this, that's kind of like proud of these people for figuring out ways to operate outside of the system and hack the system for their benefit? After all, how different is it? Corrupt corporations hack social norms for their benefit all the time. Why aren't they considered social engineers? Is the Walmart kid a hero or a villain? Is he a moral degenerate or a genius? Should he have to give the $30,000 back? I want to know your thoughts. Get in the comments and let me know your thoughts on this whole matter. I cannot wait to see what you say. But until then, I'm Felicia for the win, and this was Social Engineering.